Welcome to the love-infused ravings of Bach. Attention. There's nothing inherently wrong with partial attention. I mean, we could be paying attention to someone talking and also kind of looking at our phone. You're kind of aware of both, but neither one has full attention. And there's nothing like full attention. It's great for all concerned. But it's amazing if you think about when we're driving, if you could somehow quantify levels of attention or amounts of attention, how much of your attention out of 100 percentage-wise would be on your thoughts and how much would be on driving? And gosh, I mean, I think you'd be surprised. I mean, if we just kind of think about it, look at it, notice it when we're driving next time. I mean, let's be conservative and say 75% on thinking and 25% on the driving. But it's amazing. It might even be less than that. It might be 90-10. It's amazing how little attention we have to put on something as complex as driving. So there's nothing inherently wrong and sometimes necessary for divided attention, You might be eating a meal while you're talking with someone and listening to them. So you have to pay attention when you listen and to, the eating of your food, cutting it up and, maybe hearing some chatter around you and the other customers, maybe picking things up, that's like an awareness, right? The awareness just kind of captures it like this big satellite in a sense. But if we give something our full attention, when we can, right? When it's appropriate, when it's possible, which is almost all the time, and find out how challenging that is. Just that simple practice to everything, from every step to every movement to everything you do. See how long that lasts. It's amazing how quickly we jump back to thought. But it slows us down, brings love to all of our actions because that attention is love. It's like all of a sudden we care about it. All of a sudden we care deeply about what we're doing. Because that's what attention is, right? Attention is bringing our love to something, our interest, our care. So yeah, this is the great age of wasted attention, and also the great age of the inability to let go of a focused attention and just sink back into effortless awareness. Notice that's your nature, your underlying nature. And this focused attention is a big aspect of that creation of an identity. And something is looking out at something else. So yeah, harder than ever to keep our attention on anything in particular for very long. It's madness. It's madness. It's like a world made of thought, a world made at the speed of thought. Is it any wonder the world seems mad? More than ever, it's become like a mirror of the human mind. And just as addictive, right? Just as addictive as thought. So to slow down now has never been harder. Without dropping out of society, I imagine it's harder even then just because of the planetary vibe, the energy of the human nervous system, even the nervous system of nature and animals, however that plays out on a unknowable scale and complexity. And to remember that all is well, right? That all of it is like a symphony on the backdrop of being, and that all these categories we make are what's right and what's wrong and good and bad. They're necessary to live in a civilized, quote unquote, civilized world, but they only exist at the level of mind. That whatever this grand I don't know if it's an experiment. This grand experience of life, this grand spectacle of life, it can't be any other way than it is. Of course, only in the mind it can be, but life can't be any other way than it is. And because of that, it's glorious in all its ways, in the great delights and the horrors, not to minimize any of it, of course, at the unconscious human level, or, this at the level which we're almost all at, that we believe that we're separate. The suffering is immense. And what greater joy is there than to help someone with their suffering, even if that means just giving them a hug or holding their hands, a smile, just bringing our own joy, our own hearts to the world. Not to try to fix it, because we know the deeper the work we've done, we know there's nothing to fix. And depending on how deep that understanding goes, we bring our love and our joy as an aspect of that knowing. So it's able to love people where they're at, give them that full attention, and love them as they are. Not even where they're at, but as they are. Because where they're at sort of assumes that, they still have somewhere to go. They still have work to do. They still, I'll love you where you're at. Like, yeah, I'm in a much higher place, but I'll love you where you're at. Don't worry. No, it's love people as they are. Isn't that what we want more than anything else? Isn't that what we love more than anything else? Those people who just love us for who we are. And we can just feel it. We just know we can see it in their eyes when we see them, and the way they care for us and talk to us, treat us. So that gift, right? Bringing that gift as best we can. It's so nourishing, right? To be able to love people as they are. And then it's so easy to feel their love back, right? To receive their love. It's right, just that dance of it, just that beautiful dance of connection. And when we get confused, what a joy it is to have people that love us as we are, when we forget how lovable we are ourselves, just by being, right? For no reason. Not because I'm a certain way. When we recognize that being, that presence, that awakeness, that nature in everybody, and we have that deeper and deeper knowing in ourselves what our true nature is, and we recognize that kind of quality, that spark in other people, and that's what has a relationship. That easy love and spontaneous and sweet and playful. But we have to find that stillness in ourselves. It's worth it. It's worth the journey. I like to say there's no guarantees, but I don't know that. I mean, a guarantee sounds kind of silly anyway, right? It means it's kind of an end point. Oh, an achievement. Finally, I have a still mind. Is like as if it's something fixed. I don't even think it makes sense to say there's no guarantees or there are guarantees because they're just concepts. And what do I know about the bigger scope of anything? I mean, that's what becomes clear and clear is I don't understand anything. So to make some definitive point about this is true about life seems absurd. All the concepts might hold a kind of relative truth or a seed of truth, a pointer of sorts, but what one concept can understand this? If this is just one thing, you'd think it could be understood with one concept. We'll call it timeless presence this time. If timeless presence is all there is, you'd think there would be a concept that could explain it. And even the thought of that is so laughable. But it's what we want to do. We want to understand things at the level of language and mind. And that's great for a lot of things, but not for finding out who you are. And it's even easy, I've been noticing it's easy to kind of slip into to an idea, just start talking about this or something and think that, oh yeah, I know this, so not to check in. So like, what's really happening now? What is my direct experience now? Who am I? Without referring to thought, who am I? And that energy of looking for an answer starts to fall away. That sort of waiting for an answer, even if you're lucky enough to kind of have a still mind after you ask yourself that question, where your mind is quiet and you're just noticing. And there's this sort of subtle energy of waiting for an answer. So it's like a kind of tension of waiting. But again, if you're lucky and the mind stays quiet enough, that starts to fade, as long as you don't bite, it starts to fade. And you just start to come to rest. And notice that all is well now. And that there's nothing to be afraid of. And there's nothing to hold on to. And there's nothing that needs to change.